The concept of Dadirri is one thing that you need to know about the spiritual heart of Australian Indigenous or First Nations traditions. It is rooted in the timeless practice of deep listening. Many mystics and philosophers who have dwelled into practices of meditation, mindfulness, and silent contemplation have concluded that at their core, these practices are fundamentally the same. Did you know that they all center on being fully aware of the self and all experiences, leading to the gradual realization that essentially there is no separation between the self and the external world. This very profound sense of oneness is the ultimate aim of all wisdom traditions. And it is expressed as per the language and the culture of the era and everywhere in the world. The same holds true for the wisdom of our First Nations peoples. In a revolutionary reflection, 2021 Senior Australian of the Year, Auntie Dr. Miriam Rose Ungunmer highlights Dadirri, a deep inner listening and still awareness, as a unique and the greatest gift Aboriginal people can offer to all Australians. This practice of silent, attentive contemplation brings inner peace and healing. Auntie says, Dadirri recognizes the deep spring that is inside us. We call on it and it calls to us. There is no need for words. A big part of Dadirri is listening. Each Aboriginal language has a term for such deep, quiet listening or being aware, carrying its own unique significance. Indian sage Ramana Maharishi, known for his teachings on self-inquiry, says, remaining silent is wisdom. To remain silent means to absorb the mind in the self, the source of awareness. This state is imbued with wisdom. Auntie Miriam Rose says the contemplative practice of Dadirri touches every part of our lives, bringing renewal and peace, making us feel whole again. From our earliest days, we learn to listen. Living good and useful lives depend on it. We learn not by asking questions, but by watching, listening, waiting, and then acting, all with open awareness. This way of listening and living has been passed down through our people for over 40,000 years. There is no need for deep reflection or extensive thinking. Just being aware is enough. Dadirri is both a noun and a verb, transcending both to embody a state of active and passive meditation. It signifies a state of simply being, just being in the absence of experiences or in the presence of experiences, akin to Zen and what Christian mystics call the presence of God. So how does indigenous spirituality connect with the wisdom of other global traditions? You might be surprised at just how closely aligned they are. In Zen Buddhism, the term Zen is derived from Sanskrit word dhyana, which refers to a state of ever-present awareness. Zen, and essentially all religions of the world, place a strong emphasis on knowing the nature of reality in all experiences and effortlessly maintaining awareness of this truth. Because of the simplicity of this essential practice, it is often missed, misunderstood, or made overly complicated in our current world culture. Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen, was driven by a profound question in his youth. If the Buddha asserts that we are already enlightened, why engage in spiritual practice? Dogen's revelation was that the act of practicing is itself an expression of enlightenment. This led to the central practice of Soto Zen, called Shikantaza, or just sitting. In this practice, there is no focus or concentration of mind or breath counting. One simply sits. Dogen famously stated, "You cannot get it wrong." Soto Zen is recognized as a school of gradual enlightenment, where over time practitioners come to realize their innate Buddha nature. Shikantaza, Dadirri, or Zen and Dhyana are essentially and experientially the same. There is a common perception that meditation and other spiritual endeavors are complex. But in reality, they are some of the simplest activities humans can engage in. Indian spiritual master Nisargadatta Maharaj, renowned for his non-dual philosophy, reflected on this simplicity. He says, "Keep silent, it will emerge. It will take you in. When the mind is quiet, it reflects reality. When the mind is completely still, it dissolves, leaving only reality. Pay attention to the reality within, and it will come to light. Keep remembering that you are neither the mind nor its thoughts. Practice this with patience and conviction, and you will eventually see yourself as the source of being." Similarly, German Catholic theologian, philosopher, and mystic Master Eckhart emphasized contemplation of the simple divine truth at the core of one's being, most intimate and ever-present, rather than any specific methodology. Imagine if the first settlers had truly understood that indigenous culture was deeply rooted in cultivating every individual's lifelong spiritual connection to the Creator. Indigenous people across the globe perceive the world as inherently conscious and spiritual, non-material in essence. As per Ananyu people's worldview, Vatiya, that is matter or seemingly physical objects, are not separate from spiritual realm but are imbued with spiritual significance. Sacred objects, natural formations, and even everyday items can be seen as manifestations of ancestral beings and as conduits of spiritual energy. This indigenous perspective aligns with Spinoza's philosophy that mind and matter are aspects of the spiritual essence, suggesting a holistic understanding of existence and challenging materialist views. Many prominent philosophers, including Kant and Schopenhauer, also emphasize that the material world is just an appearance of a deeper reality, a notion supported by modern quantum physics. An ancient Indian text, Yoga Vasishtha, states, "Nothing whatever is born or dies anywhere at any time. It is reality, or Brahman, alone appearing illusorily in the form of the world." While our urban world continues to grapple with its materialistic worldview, this significant hurdle in spiritual transcendence never existed for our First Nations people. On top of having this belief, they spend majority of their day developing an elevated state of consciousness. First Nation peoples dedicated 4 to 5 hours each day to meeting their survival needs. With ample leisure time, they focused on cultivating a higher state of consciousness through ceremonies, songs, and arts, all practiced in a state of Dadirri. At the heart of their religion, also referred to as law, is the concept of oneness, a profound connection to the land, nature, and existence. According to Dr. Steiner, an anthropologist who conducted extensive research among the Dali River tribes, indigenous religion was probably one of the least material-minded and most life-minded of any of which we have knowledge. Swami Sarvapriyanan, head of Vedanta Society of New York, explains that the Vedic concept of rhythm represents cosmic order reflected in nature, our body, and minds. Living in harmony with this order makes spiritual enlightenment possible, while denying it leads to disharmony and problems. Living in harmony with nature for thousands of years gave our first peoples an extra edge towards being more spiritually awakened due to their connection with the cosmic order known as rhythm in Hindu Vedas. Just like many ancient cultures, including the Hindus, Aboriginal knowledge was preserved through songs, stories, and artwork, passed down orally by wise elders who embodied this wisdom after decades of practice. This tradition ensured that valuable knowledge was transmitted across generations. Auntie says, over the years, we have listened to wisdom in our sacred stories being told and sung repeatedly through the changing seasons. And as we age, we become the storytellers, passing on essential knowledge to the younger generation. The wisdom imparted by elders settles quietly in our minds, held deeply within, During ceremonies, we celebrate the awareness of our lives as sacred. This is the essence of meditation or a pure prayer. Similar to a master or guru of spiritual paths worldwide, Aboriginal pathways are taught by the wisest elders. And in Walpiri country, they are known as Flying Emu Teacher. Similar to other progressive spiritual paths worldwide, the Aboriginal path to realizing the truth or reality is structured, allowing individuals to reach the highest level step by step. Many ancestors attained this level, paving the way for future generations and maintaining a way of life deeply embedded in one universal truth over 60,000 years, until colonizers disrupted it violently in their ignorance. In their book, Marcia Langton and Aaron Cohn write, "The flying emu is the ultimate teacher and a paragon of ceremonial learning and knowledge to which all should aspire. He takes uninitiated emu chicks and through graded learning in ceremonies equips them for life. His teaching link earth to sky so that as people ascend through the ceremonial grades, they can grow through the wisdom of ancestors who dwell eternal in Milky Way." Ultimately, the flying emu exemplifies all the qualities of executive wisdom and good judgment that are highly desirable in fully trained and accredited Walpiri leaders who have devoted their lives to completing and in turn teaching all grades of ceremonial law. Mystics across the world and ages have said that spirituality is simple in experience. It is our first nature, not something we need to learn intensely. Now imagine living in a culture where from a very early age we are taught the practice of Dadirri. In such a culture, everyone around us constantly practices it, and all customs, rituals, leisure and work activities are aligned with it under the guidance of flying emu teachers. Such an environment would make it highly possible for many community members to attain the highest wisdom, often referred to as awakening in our world culture. This was the way of indigenous life, their key asset, which they strive to protect. And their way harmonizes perfectly with their ecology and sustainable living. In essence, the First Nations spiritual pathways are no different to and as precious and beautiful as other wisdom traditions' spiritual pathways. Soto Zen is recognized as a school of gradual enlightenment, where practitioners slowly realize their innate Buddha nature over the period of years. The central practice of Soto Zen is Sikantaza, or just sitting with open awareness, similar to Dadirri. Yoga Sutra also provides a step-by-step guide to realizing the truth. In Indian subcontinent, numerous pathways existed to achieve this understanding. Some even included song and dance, for example, Bharatnatyam. The movement and expressions in Bharatnatyam are designed to convey deep spiritual narratives and connect the dancer with the reality, promoting a sense of unity and oneness with the universe. In not so ancient times, in many progressive cultures, the societies and the rituals were structured to offer these scaffolded pathways to everyone. These progressive pathways were age appropriate, as per human developmental phases. Similarly, First Nations people maintain carefully woven pathways to reach the highest potential of human life, aligning with the highest truth, the oneness. Similar to all wisdom traditions of the world, oneness and interconnectedness of all and everything is the core principle of indigenous spirituality. Madhururu famously said, "Our spirituality is a oneness and an interconnectedness with all that lives and breathes, even with all that does not live or breathe." This quote from Madhururu represents the highest understanding of spiritual truth, resonating with wisdom from various world traditions. Many similar profound insights are found amongst our First Nations people. Pachkovsky and colleagues, in a paper published in Transcultural Psychiatry, highlight the importance of presence or Vatiya in First Nations spirituality. This refers to the belief that all physical elements, plants, animals, and landforms are imbued with spiritual rather than material significance and are interconnected through Chukorpa. This worldview fosters a deep respect for the environment and a sense of responsibility for its care. Renowned Indian spiritual master Nisargadatta Maharaj, in his teaching, articulates a profound insight. If you wish to see God, open your eyes and see the world. This suggests that divinity is present in the immediate reality around us and in us. And by perceiving the world with awareness and clarity, one can encounter the reality of the universe, or divine in religious language, in everyday experiences. Similarly, Associate Professor John Bradley accounts observing 5 First Nations elders sitting silently on a long rock, gazing out at the sea in silent awareness. For an hour they did not speak. Yet upon returning, they simply remarked, "That was really good." This moment reflects the deep spiritual practice of connecting with nature, seeing divinity in the natural world through silent contemplation. Both teachings highlight the sacredness found in everyday moment and importance of awareness and connection as pathways to spiritual insight. An ancient Indian text, Yoga Vasistha, states, "If one realizes the unity of things everywhere, one always remains tranquil, inwardly cool and pure like space, without the sense of I." purpose of life, as signified in this famous Aboriginal saying, is echoed by all great religions of the world. We are all visitors to this time, this space. We are just passing through. Our purpose here is to observe, to learn, to grow, to love, and then we return home. This profound message highlights the transient nature of our existence and the universal quest for understanding, growth, and interconnectedness. The highest truth remains the same across and beyond the time and space. Different cultures may preserve and express it according to their ecosystems and ways of life, but essentially, they all serve the same truth and lead to the same joy, happiness, and fulfillment. When an ancestor in any culture discovers this ever-present truth, the universe seems to conspire through them to preserve this pathway for future generations. Did you know, in First Nations cultures, personal growth and community well-being go hand in hand? Let's explore how self-actualization was woven into the fabric of multi-generational communities. Dr. Cindy Blackstock and scholar Billy Woodsworth, drawing on the foundational work of American First Nation psychologist Terry Cross, emphasize the holistic nature of First Nations societies, which were inherently designed to facilitate the self-actualization and transcendence of a significant higher portion of their community members. Unlike Western hierarchical societies, which often focus on individual achievement within a competitive framework, First Nations cultures fostered environments where multi-generational community actualization was not just possible but expected. This was achieved through the integration of cultural teachings, community responsibilities, and spiritual practices that nurtured each individual's potential from a young age, aligning personal growth with the collective well-being of the community. I encourage you to remain open to the possibility that wittingly or unwittingly, the ongoing colonization has disrupted the well-established pathways of spiritual progress. And with patience and perseverance, we may be able to help our First Nations people to firmly re-establish these pathways in our culture so we all benefit from it. And just as Auntie Miriam Rose said, it is the greatest gift Aboriginal people can offer to all Australians. Did you know that two well-known concepts of First Nations spirituality, dreaming and circular time, are in line with the highest Hindu and Buddhist doctrines, and even some modern quantum theories? Deborah Bird Rose, a well-known anthropologist and ethnographer, in her famous book Dingo Makes Us Human, writes, in Australian Indigenous culture, time is often perceived as cyclical rather than linear. This cyclical concept of time is deeply embedded in their worldview and is reflected in their traditions, stories, and rituals. According to Deborah Bird Rose, for Aboriginal people, the dreaming is the beginning of knowledge, from which came the laws of existence. For us, it was the first time. For them, it is every when and anywhen and all at once. This notion of everywhen underscores the continuous and interconnected nature of time, where past, present, and future are interwoven and constantly influencing each other. This worldview sees time as a continuous loop where past, present, and future coexist and influence each other. Modern quantum theory, particularly through concepts like the block universe theory and principles of quantum entanglement, offers resonance with this cyclical and interconnected view of time. Circular time represents the pinnacle of what is also known as non-dual knowledge, a concept that is both profound and elusive. In many Eastern traditions, such advanced ideas are hinted at rather than widely practiced, as they are not easily grasped by those at earlier stages of spiritual development. For most people, progressive paths like yoga, vipassana, mindfulness, or monastic life offer more accessible and step-by-step pathways to spiritual growth. These practices serve as stepping stones, gradually preparing individuals for higher realizations. The higher spiritual insights, such as Hindus' Advaita Vedanta, the doctrine of non-origination, and the understanding of timelessness and spacelessness, are often reserved for the most advanced practitioners. First Nations cultures, in particular, possess a deep and unique ingrown understanding of these advanced concepts. Their spirituality has effortlessly embodied a rich, intuitive grasp of these profound truths for thousands of years. I knew that my research and contemplation were complete when I realized that Hindu Vedanta concepts of Brahman and Chukurpa is the same. Chukurpa is a complex, multifaceted concept central to First Nations spirituality, particularly for the Ananyu people. Chukurpa is often inadequately translated as dream time or dreaming in English. But these terms fail to capture its full meaning and significance. It encompasses their religious philosophy, law, moral systems, and connection to the land. At its core, Chukurpa represents the foundation of all Aboriginal knowledge. It is an all-encompassing belief system that explains the creation of the world, defines the relationships between people, plants, animals, and the physical features of the land. On the surface, Chukurpa stories describe how ancestral beings known as Chukarija shaped the earth and brought life into existence during the creation period. However, I strongly feel that the deeper meaning of these stories may not be shared with the public or is lost in translation. Achieving a state of unification with Chukurpa is a lifelong pursuit for First Australians. This is accomplished through various means: oral tradition, where Chukurpa is passed down through generations via stories, song, dances, and art, Elders play a crucial role in transmitting this knowledge to younger members of the community. By ceremonies and rituals, which are conducted at sacred sites to connect with the ancestral beings and reinforce the teachings of Chikurupa via connection to the land, maintaining a deep spiritual relationship with the land is essential. This involves caring for sacred sites, understanding the landscape, and respecting the natural environment. By living the law, adhering to moral and social codes embedded in Chikurupa stories is a way of embodying its principles in daily life. Via art and creative expression, creating and interpreting traditional art forms such as dot paintings serves as a means of connecting with and expressing Chikurupa. The concept of Chikurupa is not limited to the past. It encompasses the present and future as well. It is often described as everyven, a term coined by anthropologist Tanner to capture its eternal nature. This perspective allows First Peoples to maintain a continuous connection with their ancestrals and the land across all time periods. This core belief of alive interconnection allows each act to transform into meditation or a pure prayer. Intersection of Turiya and Chikurupa. The Hindu concept of Turiya, often described as the fourth state of consciousness beyond waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, represents a state of pure consciousness where the distinctions between subject and object disappear. In Turiya, the linear nature of time dissolves, and one experiences the timeless and formless essence of reality. This state is connected to the creation of the universe, as it reflects the primordial consciousness or Brahman, from which all existence emerges. In Turiya, the universe is not seen as a series of events unfolding in time, but as an ever-present, continuous reality where creation and dissolution occur simultaneously, transcending the limitations of temporal existence. This connection underscores the non-dualistic nature of the universe in Hindu philosophy, where the ultimate reality or Brahman is both the creator and the creation, embodying a state of consciousness where time, space, and causality are unified and transcended. Turiya and Chikurupa, both perspectives, also share a holistic view of existence, seeing all aspects of life as interconnected and part of a greater whole. This is evident in Hindu concept of Brahman, the ultimate reality, and First People's understanding of interconnectedness of all living things. While there are certainly differences in their specific beliefs and practices, these shared perspectives on time and interconnectedness highlight intriguing parallels between Indigenous and Hindu and other Eastern spiritual worldviews. For Indigenous peoples, the deepest sense of purpose is rooted in their relationship with Chikurupa, an ancient framework that shapes every aspect of life. So, what does this relationship provide? It offers a strong sense of identity and belonging, connecting individuals to their ancestors, their community, and the land itself. This connection helps them understand their place in the world. It also provides moral and ethical guidance. The stories and laws within Chikurpa serve as a guide for making decisions and living rightly. On a spiritual level, aligning with Chikurpa brings spiritual fulfillment, creating harmony with both the natural and spiritual worlds. It's also about cultural continuity, ensuring that the wisdom of Chikurpa is passed down through generations, keeping indigenous culture alive and thriving. And finally, it teaches environmental stewardship. Through Chikurpa, there is a deep respect for the land, encouraging sustainable practices and a commitment of caring for country. Chikurpa is more than just tradition. It is the heart of indigenous life, guiding individuals and communities towards balance, wisdom, and purpose. Correcting the wrong. Sadly, the erroneous belief that first peoples had no religion aligned with the concept of terra nullius, or uninhabited land, which justified the forceful possession of their lands in 1770 and all the atrocities that followed it. Our collective ignorance of the richness of oral traditions and First Nations languages has significantly delayed our recognition of spiritual treasures within their rich cultures. For example, the Yanyuwa language showcases a profound depth of knowledge through its vocabulary, with over 180 words to describe various aspects of family, and at least 36 distinct terms for dugong fish, each capturing unique ontological and epistemological nuances that cannot be simply translated into English. It is now our responsibility to acknowledge the spiritual profoundness of our first peoples. We must respectfully engage with their wisdom, recognizing their rightful place in the global spiritual wisdom landscape. By doing so, we honor their unique contributions to enrich our own understanding of the reality. Just like Auntie says, it is the greatest gift First Peoples can offer to all Australians, and I would say to the whole world.